With the release of Broly DLC, we are just 1 month away from 2-year anniversary of Dragon Ball FighterZ, and one of the biggest compliments for the game since its release has been related to its visuals. This game comes so close to the visuals of the anime that it is safe to call it one of the best looking Dragon Ball game out there. But how exactly did Arc System Works achieve this, and why can't other games such as Xenoverse or DBZ Kakarot achieve that same level of quality? Hey guys, Kenzairo here, and in today's video we are going to answer that exact question. We're going to take a look at behind the scene development of Dragon Ball FighterZ and answer what makes this game so damn special. And in the end we are also going to take a look at the next step, what Arc System Works can do in order to make their games look even better. So first of all, let us get the most obvious thing out of the way. When it comes to video games, there is a developer and there is a publisher. The publisher handles the marketing, the advertising and all the business related side of things, while the developer is the one who actually makes the game. So even though Dragon Ball FighterZ, DBZ Kakarot and Xenoverse are all games by Bandai Namco, they are actually developed by different studios. Bandai published all these games, but Dragon Ball FighterZ is developed by Arc System Works, Kakarot is developed by CyberConnect 2, and Xenoverse is developed by DIMS. Since these games are developed by different studios, they end up looking so different from each other, and even the gameplay for them is very different. Now that you understand that, the question is Arc System Works such a talented studio that no other studio can match up to the quality of their work? The visuals in Dragon Ball FighterZ look so close to the anime that literally no other Dragon Ball game on the market can match up to them. The developers at Arc System Works are talented, yes, but not in a way that you might be thinking. The mind-blowing visuals of Dragon Ball FighterZ is actually thanks to a lot of trial and error done on various different techniques during the development of the game. In other words, the reason FighterZ looks so good and other games don't is because Arc System Works uses a number of different tricks in the game which are simply impossible to do in a fully 3D game such as Xenoverse or Kakarot. The real talent of Arc System Works lies in experimentation. It would have taken them a lot of trial and error to make sure that all their tricks that they are using works the right way. The first and most important trick that Arc System Works uses is lighting. Dragon Ball FighterZ actually uses two different types of lighting in their game. One is for the background or the stages, and the second is for the characters themselves. You can actually notice this yourself if you pay close attention to the characters in the game. The shadows and the lights on these characters look exactly the same no matter where you are. You could be on Earth or on Supreme Kai's world or in space, but the lights and shadows on these characters are never going to change. This actually works in the favor of Arc System Works because it allows them to change the lighting of every single character in every single scene manually. They can change the lighting themselves and make it look as close to the anime as possible. They can actually look at the animations from the anime frame by frame, look at how the shadows and the characters are colored in each scene, and then they can manually put in the same lights and shadows in their game as well. This makes the characters in the game look pretty much identical to the anime in terms of lighting. Now, the question is, if Arc System Works can do that, then why can't all the other developers do the same with their games? Well, the answer is really simple. It just doesn't work as good with 3D as it does with 2D. Think about it. If a character in a 3D game has different lighting as compared to his surroundings, then he will simply look as if he doesn't belong there. For example, a character who has the same lighting in indoors as he has in outdoors, in a 3D game, it will appear as if the character is glowing in the dark, and in some cases, he will simply appear as if he's out of place and simply doesn't belong there. Unlike in 2D, a character in 3D environment needs to interact with the lights around him, otherwise he simply doesn't look like he's part of that scene. And when the character interacts with his environment, he ends up looking very different in different lighting situations. Due to this, a character in 3D will look very different depending on the lights around him. And since his visuals change depending on the lighting, he can never look identical to the anime all the time because there is only one light and one color version of a scene in the anime. As sad as this is, it is simply how things work. Lighting plays a huge part in making Dragon Ball FighterZ look as good as it does, but it is not the only trick that Arc System Works has up their sleeves. The second most important trick that Arc System Works uses is their animations themselves. Now, keep in mind, even though Dragon Ball FighterZ look 2D for the most part, the character models in the game are still in 3D. The animations technically should be similar to CGI used in anime. But hold up, Dragon Ball FighterZ look nothing like CGI anime. In fact, it looks a whole lot better than CGI anime if you compare it to anime such as Berserk, for example. So why is that? Well, the answer to that is pretty simple. Anime is handmade while CGI anime is made with computers. Computers are perfect in doing their tasks, but humans are not perfect. Humans makes mistakes. So in a way, anime is actually the result of imperfect animations. So how does Arc System Works make the animation of their games look closer to anime? Well, they purposefully make their animations imperfect. You can understand this easily with this example. Here you can see a handmade animation that I made when I was a kid. In this scene, every frame is handmade, which for one is time consuming and doesn't really produce smooth results. If I were to make this exact animation using a computer today, it would literally take me less than 10 seconds and it will be a whole lot smoother than handmade animations. I have to simply place the beginning frame and the ending frame on my computer, and all the frames in between will be filled by the computer automatically. In terms of gaming, the most of the games use the method on the right hand side for their 3D animations. Arc System Works, on the other hand, purposefully makes their animations with a low frame rate so the animation match the frame rate of the anime itself. Sure, they can make their games with a better frame rate, but that would end up looking different from the anime, which is what they want to avoid. Arc System Works handcrafts their animations frame by frame as if they were animating in 2D, and they make their frames as close to the anime as they possibly can. This might be a trick, but make no mistake, doing this takes a lot of skill, and even then many talented animators might actually fail in doing this properly. The animators at Arc System Works are extremely talented, and they've been able to achieve this only after years and years of trial and error. But that by itself is actually not enough to get the results that they desire. Which brings us to the next trick, that is camera angles. In Dragon Ball FighterZ, you can actually use a free cam which allows you to see the animations from different camera angles, and when you do, you'll see exactly how important right camera angles can be in order to make these animations look as good as they actually do. The camera angles, just like the lighting, works in favor of Arc System Works because in anime and manga, crazy anatomy is not just common, but it is pretty much used all the time. These crazy anatomy angles are what Arc System Works reproduces in their games using the right camera angles. And all of these things combined, such as the lighting, the animations, and the camera angles, is exactly what they need to get the results that they desire. But now the question is, why don't other games simply use these camera angles as well? What is stopping the developers of Xenoverse from doing the same camera angles? Well, the answer is nothing. Nothing is stopping other developers to use the same trick to make their camera angles look closer to the anime. In fact, most games actually already do this. When you use special moves in Xenoverse and Z Kakarot, at times you see those moves from a different camera angle, and that is exactly what they are doing. However, it doesn't look anywhere close to Dragon Ball FighterZ or the anime, because the result of Dragon Ball FighterZ is not just this one trick, just the camera angle, but rather it is a combination of all the tricks, the lighting, the animations, and the camera angles all combined together. If even one of the trick is missing from that equation, the results are simply not going to be the same. And that is why other games are not able to achieve that same level of detail as FighterZ does. Now that you understand how individually and how uniquely each character is crafted in Dragon Ball FighterZ, how long do you think it takes them to do all of this? Well, on average, they work on each character for about 4 or 5 months. This includes the animations, the models, the textures, everything. So each DLC character that you get for the cost of around $5 takes them around 5 months of work. Obviously, there are multiple people working on different characters, so they can release a new DLC every 2 or 3 months. Now in the end, one question arises. Now that Arc System Works has achieved this, where can they go from here? Where is the room for improvement? Their games look so close to the anime that there can't possibly be anything more that they can do, right? Well, that's not entirely true. For one, I personally think they should start focusing on the motion of their backgrounds next. In their current game design, the backgrounds of any fighting stage are very static and very flat. If they could find a trick to make their backgrounds rotate in middle of gameplay, it will literally make their games look as if it's an anime being animated in real time. At that point, there will be very little difference in visual between the anime and their games. Doing this is obviously not easy. There are many technical obstacles in the way of achieving that, but if there is any studio out there who I think can achieve that, it is definitely Arc System Works. So that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.